series from Ghatna Chakra, and the first part of it is about the advent of European companies. Now we're going to solve its questions. Sorry, I should just. Yes. So, in which year Vasco da Gama arrived at Calicut? So, it was 1498 AD. Sorry if I got to read out the options, but yeah, 1498 AD. You may pause the screen when the questions appear, uh, read it and attempt it, and then play. Or else you can just keep reading the questions that I speak out and the answers. Okay. So Vasco da Gama arrived on western coast port of Calicut on May 20, 1498 AD. He discovered a new sea route to India and was welcomed by Zamorin, the then king of Calicut. The voyage of Vasco da Gama opened the new trade dimensions of the Indo-Portuguese alliance. Vasco da Gama earned 60 times more profit in Europe by black pepper trade from India, which encouraged other Portuguese traders. The Portuguese merchants established their commercial firms in India at the ports of Calicut, Goa, Daman, Diu, and Hooghly. Francisco de Almeida came to India in 1505 as the first Portuguese viceroy, and Albuquerque came to India in 1509 after him, after Francisco de Almeida as a new viceroy. He annexed Goa in 1510 from Bijapur ruler Adil Shah. The Portuguese maintained Goa as the epicenter of their culture and entity since then. Okay, so when did Vasco da Gama come to India? This is again the same question. I'm going to skip it. Who was the first Portuguese viceroy in India? We have just read about it in that solution. The options are A. Diaz, B. Vasco da Gama, C. Almeida, D. Albuquerque. So the answer to this question is Francisco de Almeida, option number C. Now, who among the following had welcomed Vasco da Gama at Calicut? A. Gaspar Correa, B. Albuquerque, C. Zamorin, D. Don and Nida. So the answer to this question is C. Zamorin. Okay, next question. Now we have to match list 1 and list 2nd. List 1 contains the name of voyagers and second list contains the name of countries. So Vasco da Gama, we know that he came from Portugal. Captain Cook, I believe, was from Great Britain. Then the leftover, okay, Christopher Columbus. Now he may have been from Spain or from Holland. I don't know. Tasman, maybe Holland, yeah. So let's see. A A2 A2. Okay, B is our answer. Option number B. Christopher Columbus belonged to Spain. Captain Cook belonged to Great Britain, and Tasman belonged to Holland. Who was the real founder of Portuguese power in India? A. Vasco da Gama, B. Albuquerque, C. Bartholomew Diaz, D. George Oxton. So the answer to this question is B. Albuquerque. Albuquerque was the governor from 1509 to 1515. He established Portuguese state as a powerful regional power in India. The annexation of Goa from the Sultan of Bijapur in February 1510 was the first significant achievement of Albuquerque. The victory of Goa consolidated the Portuguese monopoly at the southern western naval coast and established regional Portuguese state in India. He encouraged Portuguese men to marry Indian women for enhancement of Portuguese presence in India and the formation of permanent colonies. Seventh question. At which one of the following places in India did the Portuguese build their first fortress? First fortress. A. Ajnadif, B. Kannur, C. Cochin, D. Goa. I would go with C. Cochin. Let's see what is the answer. Yeah, C. Cochin is the correct answer. So the first Portuguese fortress was built by Alfonso de Albuquerque, who was not the viceroy at that time in Cochin 1503. Francisco de Almeida constructed the Portuguese fortress in Kannur and Ajnadif in 1506. So the next question is, who were the first Europeans to come to India for trade? A. Dutch, B. English, C. French, D. Portuguese. So D. Portuguese is the correct answer. Yeah, so Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Calicut in 1498 after a long voyage with the help of Gujarati route guide Abdul Majid. Abdul Majid. Okay. And this is the sequence in which European trade powers arrived in India: Portuguese, then Dutch, then English, then Danes, and then French. Portuguese came to India in 1498 and returned after every European power left India. That was in 1961. So they stayed for the longest period in India. Ninth question: who were the first Europeans to set up trade centers in India? A. The English, B. The French, C. The Portuguese, D. The Dutch. C. The Portuguese. Among the following factories in Bengal, the one established by the Portuguese was: A. Bandel, B. Chinsura, C. Hooghly, D. Srirampur. C. Hooghly is the answer. I get Chinsura belonged to the Dutch. So in 1534 AD, the Portuguese obtained permission to establish their factories in Satgaon and Chatgaon by then ruler of Bengal, Ghiyasuddin Mahmud Shah. After the Portuguese colonies were set up in Old Bengal, Chatgaon or Chatgaon, known as the Great Port of Portuguese Maritime, was used by them, but in the 16th century, Satgaon declined and was replaced by Hooghly. Dutch built a fort named Fort Gustavus in Chinsura. Srirampur was a major center of Danes. So this is important, and I guess a new fact that Srirampur was a major center of Danes. All right, moving on to the next question. With reference to the Portuguese, which is reference to Pondicherry, now Puducherry, consider the following statements. The first European power to occupy Pondicherry were the Portuguese. The second European power to occupy Pondicherry were the French. Third, the English never occupied Pondicherry. Now, I find the third statement very repelling and repulsive, and I think incorrect. Let's see. So I know that third is incorrect, so the first is the only correct option over here. So the second European power was not the French, they were someone else. Let's find out who. The first European power to occupy Pondicherry and to exert power in India was the Portuguese. Dutch was the second European power to occupy Pondicherry. The Britishers also occupied Pondicherry in 1793 but handed it over to France in 1814 under the Treaty of Paris. Thus, only statement first is correct. So we know that the Dutch, the French, Portuguese, Britishers, all four of them occupied Pondicherry at some point. 12th question: Hooghly was used as a base for piracy in the Bay of Bengal by A. Portuguese, B. French, C. Danish, D. British. A. Portuguese. So who subdued Portuguese in Hooghly? Qasim Khan. Qasim Khan in 1631 to 32 on the orders of Shah Jahan quelled Portuguese presence in Hooghly, authoritative presence in Hooghly. Okay. 13th question: who used Hooghly as a base for piracy in the Bay of Bengal? We have already answered this question, and Portuguese is the correct answer, as you may be guessing by now. Now, which one of the following is connected with the Blue Water Policy? A. De Almeida, B. Albuquerque, C. Dupleix, D. Robert Clive. So it's not Dupleix, it's not Robert Clive. It's either Almeida or Albuquerque. Now, Almeida came first. I'd go with Almeida, but it can be Albuquerque also. Let's find out. Almeida is the correct answer. Obviously, I was right. Not obviously, but yeah, I was right. Okay. So the Blue Water Policy is attributed to Francisco de Almeida, the first viceroy of Portuguese possessions in India. According to it, the Portuguese should be the sole trade power in the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. Now, who among the following was the founder of Calcutta? A. Charles Ayer, B. Job Charnock, C. Garold Angyar, D. William Norris. So the answer to this question is B. Job Charnock. So Job Charnock was the chief of Kasim Bazar factory, and he selected Sutanoti instead of Hooghly for the establishment of the British Trade Center, and finally he founded Kolkata in the form of English colonies. This question is just the same, so I am skipping it. Now, with reference to the entry of European powers into India, which one of the following statements is not correct? First statement is that the Portuguese captured Goa in 1499. Second statement is that the English opened their first factory in South India at Masulipatam. Third statement is that in eastern India, the English company opened its first factory in Odisha in 1633. Last statement is that under the leadership of Dupleix, the French occupied Madras in 1746. So, the wrong statement among these is that the Portuguese captured Goa in 1499. We have learned that the Portuguese captured Goa in 1510 from the ruler of Bijapur, Mahmud Shah. Okay, so this is it. You can memorize all these other facts that it was under the leadership of Dupleix that French captured or occupied Madras in 1746, and that a factory in Orissa was set up in 1633 by the English, or that in Masulipatam the English first opened their factory. It was their first factory in South India. So that's about it. Now, the first to start a joint stock company to trade with India were A. Portuguese, B. Dutch, C. French, D. Danish. So, B. Dutch is the answer to this question. The first to start a joint stock company to trade with India were the Dutch. In early 17th century, Holland was not very powerful. So, the organization of micro companies and the federal concept of Netherlands reflected clearly. A joint Dutch India Company, East India Company, was set up by a resolution of the Dutch Parliament in 1602. Its initial capital was okay, so Gilder, it's in Gilder. And how many? It's about 6,500,000 guilders. No, this company was authorized by Parliament for 21 years to trade with India and other Eastern countries for colonial expansion. The eastern headquarter of Dutch company was located in Batavia, that is Jakarta. So the eastern headquarter was in Jakarta of the Dutch company. Administration and governance of Eastern Dutch Empire was conducted by the joint company. Its partners were in form of private groups. Now, 19th question. In which of the following places the Dutch established their trading centers in India? A. Nagapattinam, Chinsura, Machilipatnam. B. Surat, Bharuch, Agra. C. Cochin, Ahmedabad, Patna. Now, D is all of the above. Mm, I don't know. It can be all of the above, but if it is not all of the above, then it is A. Nagapattinam, Chinsura, Machilipatnam. I may be wrong. Let's see the correct answer. So D, all of the above is the correct answer. These were their occupations, and let us see when did they find their first one in there. Okay, so Chinsura 1653. Okay, before that we have 1606 AD Machilipatnam. Alright, 1606 Machilipatnam. Then after that Surat in 1616. Then Agra in 1621. Then Patna in 1638 or 1632. Okay, and then Chinsura in 1653. Then Nagapattinam in 1658, and then Cochin in 1663 AD. 20th question. Dutch East India Company established its factory at Patna in which year? So we have just read that in Patna they came in 1632 or 1638. Right. So B might be correct answer or none of the above. Let's see. B is the correct answer. Okay. Oh, so they established its factory at Patna in 1632, but it was closed in the same year. So I guess in 1638 the factory was revived or inaugurated or reopened. Let's see. So which one of the following is the correct statement? A. The modern Kochi was a Dutch colony till India's independence. B. The Dutch defeated the Portuguese and built Fort Williams in the modern Kochi. The modern Kochi was first a Dutch colony before the Portuguese took over from them. D. The modern Kochi never became a part of British colony. So I would eliminate option C and option D, and B sounds true. A also not so much. So let's see. Yeah, B is the correct answer. That the Dutch defeated the Portuguese and built Fort Williams in the modern Kochi. That is Cochin. Okay, so this is the solution. The Dutch defeated the Portuguese and built Fort Williams in the modern Kochi in 1663. Kochi was included as the British colonial region in 1814. Thus, option B is the correct answer. Fort Williams was constructed in 1663, as you've seen already in the other answer. Next is the 22nd question. The secret of success of East India Company in India was A. Absence of nationalism in India. B. The company army received Western training and they had modern arms. C. Indian soldiers lacked fidelity. Consequently, the one who paid them sufficient could have them on his service. Or D. All the above three. Uh, all three of them seem appropriate to me. Let's see. Yeah. So all of the three are correct. It is known that a group called Merchants Adventurers in England formed East India Company, or the governor and the company of merchants trading into the East Indies. Okay, so you can read it if you want to on your own. Now, 23rd. Which of the following British companies got the first charter permitting them to trade in India? A. Levant Company. B. East India Company. C. The English Company trading to the East Indies. D. Ostend Company. So, I guess it was the English company trading to the East Indies. This East India Company was, the I think two companies got um, merged to form the East India Company. Not really sure. Let's see. Let's see what is the answer. It's either B or C. A. Oh, sorry. I'm just so sorry. The one company had got a charter for trading with India by land routes. Now, British Queen Elizabeth granted a charter to English company trading to the East Indies. That is the C1, and permitting by sea route. So they got for sea route and they got for land route. Now, this company extended its trade with the merger of a new company in 1709 as the new name of United Company of Merchants of England trading to the East Indies, which was later known as East India Company. So this very company, the second company, which was which got charter for the sea trade, merged with a new company in 1709 and then became United Company of Merchants of England, trading to the East Indies, or in short, East India Company. Now, which one of the following was the Emperor of India when the British East India Company was formed in London? A. Akbar, B. Jahangir, C. Shah Jahan, D. Aurangzeb. A. Akbar is the correct answer. Now, during the time of which Mughal emperor did the English East India Company established its first factory in India? A. Akbar, B. Jahangir, C. Shah Jahan, D. Aurangzeb.
So B. Jahangir is the option for this answer. Correct option. So where in India did Britishers set up their first factory in 1613? A. Goa, B. Hooghly in Bengal, C. Amarkot, D. Surat. D. Surat. You can read all of this. The first factory of the East India Company was established at A. Pune, B. Goa, C. Pondicherry, D. Surat. So D. Surat is the correct answer. Which of the British officials defeated Portuguese at Swali? A. William Hawkins, B. Thomas Best, C. Thomas Roe, D. Josiah Child. So I guess it's B. Thomas Best. The explanation is contained in this. Which one of the following European trading company was the first to establish its factory at Surat? A. The Dutch, B. The English, C. The French, D. The Portuguese. So I don't know, maybe, but as far as we have learned until now, it was B. The English. So the British East India Company was the first to establish its factory at Surat. Among all European trade companies, Jahangir granted permission to the British to set up a permanent factory at Surat in 1613. The Dutch established a factory in Surat in the year 1616, while the French in the year 1668. Now, in the year 1613, where was the English East India Company given permission to set up a factory or a trading post? A. Bangalore, B. Madras, C. Masulipatam, D. Surat. D. Surat. Now, 31st. Bombay was taken over by the English East India Company from A. The Dutch, B. The French, C. The Danish, D. The Portuguese. So, D. The Portuguese is the correct answer. Now, this is interesting. Bombay was given as a dowry gift by the Portuguese crown to the British when H.M. Charles II, the King of England, married Catherine of Braganza, the Princess of Portugal, in 1661. Charles II gave Bombay to British East India Company on £10 annual rent in 1668. 32nd. Which English governor of East India Company in India was expelled by Aurangzeb? A. Ongyo, B. Sir John Child, C. Sir John Gay, D. Sir Nicholas Wait. Now, I do not know the answer to this question. If I have to take a wild guess, I'll go with B. Sir John Child. Okay, so this is just a guess. Maybe I had read it somewhere and it was in my subconscious. I don't know. Okay, so the British governor of Bombay, John Child, cordoned off Mughal ports of Bombay and western coastal areas in 1688 and tried to capture Makkah pilgrims, as a result of which Aurangzeb ordered to expel him from India. He was forced to negotiate for peace and bent to his knees before the Mughal emperor. 33rd question. Which one of the following was the immediate cause of the First Carnatic War? A. Anglo-French rivalry. B. Austrian War of Succession. C. Issues of Carnatic succession. D. Capture of French ships by the British. Now, the immediate cause. We know that Austrian War of Succession was the reason. I don't know if whether it was immediate or not, but either that or the capture of French ships by the British. Either one of the two. So, capture of French ships by the British was the immediate reason. The First Carnatic War was an offshoot of the Anglo French rivalry in the Austrian War of Succession that took place in Europe in 1740. The British Captain Burnett captured some French ships, which became the immediate cause of war. Nawab Anwaruddin sent an army of 10,000 soldiers under the command of Mahfuz Khan to besiege the French in Madras. During the First Carnatic War, the French army, under command of Captain Paradise, defeated Nawab's army at the Battle of Saint Thome near Adyar River. Treaty of A. A. La Chapelle 18th October 1748 ended the War of Austrian Succession, and with it, First Carnatic War ended and the Britishers reoccupied Madras. The First Carnatic War is memorable for the War of Saint Thome, which happened near the Adyar River and was won by the French army. 34th question. Carnatic War was fought between अभी जस्ट रामायण खत्म हुई एंड दे आर आस्किंग कि सीता कौन थी राम कौन था रावण कौन था राम कौन था एनीवे so the options are A English and French, B English and Dutch, C English and Marathas, D Hyder Ali and Marathas. So A English and French. Okay. 35th. Now match list 1 with list 2 and select the correct answer using the code given below. First Carnatic War. Okay. Now in list 2 we find an appropriate uh, relevant appropriate at relevant point, that is ended by Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Now third Carnatic War, I guess it ended by Treaty of Paris, and second Carnatic War, I guess it was an inconclusive war, and first Mysore War, Britishers lost. Or did the Britishers lose in the Second Carnatic War and the First Mysore War was inconclusive? And I think First Mysore War, Britishers lost in First Mysore War. Maybe. Yeah. Let's see what are the codes. We are sure of A4. So A4 C's are correct option. B1. So third Carnatic War was ended by Treaty of Paris, and C3 Second Carnatic War was an inconclusive war, and D2. So first Mysore War and the Britishers lost. All right, this is what we've already discussed. With reference to the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle 1748, which of the following statement is or are correct? First, the First Carnatic War was ended. Second, the English got back Madras. Now, of course that the First Carnatic War was ended, but I don't think that they got back Madras because of this, or did they? I don't know. Treaty of Paris they may have gotten it back. I am not really certain. Let's see what is the answer. So C is the answer. They got back Madras by that Treaty of La Chapelle. Okay, so Austrian War of Succession ended with the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, 1748. With the end of Europe's war, First War of Carnatic also ended, and Britishers got back Madras. Now, 37th question. Who among the following was the first European to initiate the policy of taking part in the quarrels of Indian princes with a view to acquire territories? A. Clive, B. Dupleix, C. Albuquerque, D. Warren Hastings. I think it was B. Dupleix. 38th. In India, among the following locations, the French established their earliest factory at A. Surat, B. Pulikat, C. Cochin, D. Kasim Bazar. So I'd go with A. Surat. So Louis XIV's finance minister Colbert formed French East India Company named Compagnie des Indes Orientales. Compagnie des Indes Orientales. In 1664, the company was thus created and financed by the state. The company undertook a fresh expedition in 1667 under the command of Francis Caron and set up the first French factory at Surat in 1668. The second factory was set up at Masulipatnam in 1669, granted charter by Markara Sultan of Golconda. Oh, sorry. 39th. So this question, French East India Company was constituted during the reign of A. Louis XIV, B. Louis XIII, C. Louis XV, D. Louis XVI. So A. Louis XIV is the correct answer. Okay, 40th question. Who among the following is considered the founder of French company in India? A. Richelieu, B. Mazarin, C. Colbert D. Franco Martin. So C. Colbert, as you say in English, or as in French, Colbert. This is the right option. Yep. Next, 41. So 41st. Which of the following factories of Bengal was established by the Dutch? A. Bandel, B. Chinchura, C. Hooghly, D. Shirampur. By the Dutch, we have Chinchura, and Shirampur was by Danes. Yep. And Hooghly, and Dutch and Portuguese both. So yeah. So the first Dutch company in Bengal was set up in Pipli. A few days later, the Dutch moved towards Balasore from Pipli, but the trade of Dutch started properly in Bengal in 1635 till 1656 at a factory in Hooghly. After 1656, a factory at Chinsura village in Hooghly became their important trading point. From options, it's clear that Dutch factories were established at Chinsura along with Hooghly headquarters. Till the end of 17th century, the Dutch companies were established at Kasim Bazar, Patna, Dhaka, Malda, Balasore, etc. etc. So, 42nd question is, the French failed to establish power in the Deccan because A. Duplessis was not a capable general. Mm, doesn't feel like it. B. The English had a strong army. Mm, C. The French were not killed by the Indians. Hmm, who can say so? D. Pondicherry was not a strategic center. So I think it was because the English had a strong army, or that Pondicherry was not a strat. But more than that, the reason was that French company was a government company and English company was private company, and was quick at making decisions whereby the French actions were thwarted by red tapeism and all of that. And yeah, Bengal was more strategic than Pondicherry, and Bengal was a richer province, and Pondicherry was maybe not so much. So I think it's either B or C. Let's see. B is the correct answer. So, one major cause of French failure to India was their weak naval strength. According to Voltaire, during the War of Austrian Succession, the French naval strength was reduced so badly that the navy had hardly any battleship left in the Seven Years' War. On the other hand, the British had a strong naval army too. 43rd question. The following European powers entered into Indian trade at one time or the other: the English, the Dutch, the French, and the Portuguese. Select the correct chronological order of their entry from the code given below. Now, you people do it on your own. See the answers. Let's read out their names, because if ever it's written anywhere like that, we won't be able to recognize. I mean, I wouldn't be able to. I'm not sure about you. So, Estado the India was the Portuguese company. Then Verenigde de Oost-Indische Compagnie. Okay, that was Dutch. Then the Governor and Company of Merchants of London, trading into the East Indies. Okay, Danes East India Company. And this, so we have already read about. Now we have to match these lists. Okay, I think it's the list of places and the power associated. So Pondicherry, a name comes to mind, that is French. Goa, Portuguese. Tranquebar, maybe Danish. Sadras, maybe Dutch. Let's see. So A3, okay, B4, B4, A3, no, A2, A2, sorry, A2, B3, yeah, C4, and D1. Yeah, this makes sense. This is the correct option. Next, identify the region from where Europeans got best shora, saltpeter, and opium. A. Bihar, B. Gujarat, C. Bengal, D. Madras. I think they got it from Bihar. Okay. 46th question. During British rule, which region of India was famous for the production of opium? A. Bihar, B. Southern India, C. Gujarat, D. Assam. I think it was Bihar again. Who among the following Europeans was the last to come to pre-independence India as traders? A. Dutch, B. English, C. French. D. Portuguese. French. My friends, French. Yeah. So 48th question. Consider the following. Assessment of land revenue of the basis on of the tenure of the soil and quality of crops, use of mobile cannons in warfare, cultivation of tobacco and red chilies. Which of the above was or were introduced into India by the English? I think none of these. I don't know. Maybe one, only one. None of these. Yeah, I was right. So the assessment of land revenue on the basis of nature and soil and quality of the crops were introduced during the reign of Sher Shah Suri and Akbar, much before the British. टोबैको एंड रेड चिलीज तो पोर्चुगीज लाए थे, मोबाइल कैनन्स तो मुगल एरा में भी था. So none of these were brought by English. Now, with reference to the causes of the success of British and failure of the French in India, which of the following statement is or are correct? Getting huge wealth and manpower from conquest of Bengal by British. Second, naval superiority of the British. Both of them. Now, next chapter, henceforth, like after this, is East India Company and the Nawabs of Bengal. We'll do it in the next video. तब तक के लिए bye bye.